Hello, everyone, and welcome to MIC TV. Today, we're going to be discussing the importance of developing your initial audience. I'm your host, Greg Fraiola, along with my partner, TJ Peterson.
Hello, everyone.
Now, if this is your first time joining us, we'd like to welcome you to the MIC community. And for all those who are watching, even those that are watching the replay, we always ask, please drop your name and stuff into the chat, your links, where we can find you, all that kind of good stuff, because we like welcoming everybody, and then also, if we can, following everyone online. So again, today that we are going to be discussing the importance of developing your initial audience. Now, it goes without saying, but every artist and band needs to have a loyal fan base if they want to have a successful music career. And if you're like most musicians, you probably dreamed about having millions of fans touring the world and playing sold out shows. But when you're in the early stages of your music career, playing to the same crowd that's probably filled with your friends and family on a regular basis, that kind of dream of having that many fans and doing all those things can seem almost unattainable. So the question is, what can you actually do about that? Well, let's start off with what most musicians do. Most musicians that want to have a large fan base and dream about touring the world start off by growing their online audiences because they believe having a large online following is the key to being successful. So what they'll do is they'll focus all their efforts on building up their social media followers, which may entail things like paying for advertising. You'll see those, artist ads on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. However, this typically doesn't have much of an impact on their actual fans, nor does it help, pack their next shows. You will pick up, followers, and I'm not saying some of these people won't turn into fans, but for the most part, when we've gone through for our own purposes and done advertising, we pick up people that follow us, but not people that actually maybe care as much as they need to care to actually support what we're doing. Now, the reason why a lot of musicians will do this is because they feel like they need to grow their online numbers. But when they're doing those kind of things, they're not actually, building relationships with their audiences. So they might see, again, their online followers increase, but they don't see their mailing list grow, nor are they generating actual sales. And when that approach doesn't work, they may turn their attention to other promotional techniques like PR or getting onto playlists, so that they can continue to increase their followers, because they believe, again, their online numbers mean that they're actually growing their audience. But at the end of the day, for most musicians, these types of growth techniques are dead ends. And because, they don't really give true fan base growth, only casual followers. And if you want to build a full-time career, you can't do that on casual followers. So the question is, what are they essentially doing wrong? After all, to be successful, everyone says you need to grow your social media followers and get on playlists. Well, personally, TJ and I disagree with that. That there's one approach, and there's things and benefits that might come from that if you're targeting specific people. Like I know that, if you're maybe targeting, a manager or something weird, and that's a big thing to them, maybe there's a reason for you to do those things. But for the most part, if you're just kind of getting started out where there's not a lot of industry interest in what you're doing, again, it's not our approach we really kind of feel good about. Now, there, again, is a ton of online messaging recommending this approach, but we are also going to recommend consider the source. Social media companies want you to think that you need a large following because they want you to pay for advertising. And streaming services and music curators want you to believe that you need to get on playlists so that you use their service and pay for playlist placement. But growing your followers isn't the same as growing your fans. Now, why do I say that for? Because there's a big difference between followers and fans. And to give you a quick example of what I'm talking about, followers will stream your songs and maybe like your posts online, but your fans will actually spend the money to buy your album or support your crowdfunding campaign, and do things like comment on your posts and share your posts. So when you're trying to build a full-time music career, you're working towards building and creating a successful business. And a successful business has customers and generates profit from sales. So from a financial perspective, when we're talking about followers versus fans, fans is where it's going to be at, because a fan is going to pay you the amount of money that you can use to support yourself. Now, from a financial perspective, an artist or band having 2,500 followers stream their songs is about as valuable as getting one fan to buy your album, because 2,500 followers, streaming your song roughly equates to about $10. Actually, that depends on the streaming service, but let's just call it an average. And what do you think is easier, getting 2,500 streams of a specific song or getting one fan to buy your album? Now, if you spend any time on streaming services, 2,500 streams and can be quite a bit to ask if you don't have a large fan base, and it's difficult for a lot of artists. But it's also the additional step of that too. It's like if you get 2,500 streams, fantastic. But if you actually go through the process of talking to someone to get them to buy your album and the back and forth that kind of goes with that, you're also building a relationship. Now, musicians that choose to go and focus on their numbers, the question that we always want to say is, what are these musicians actually doing wrong? Well, fundamentally, the main thing is that they're doing wrong is that they're trying to build a large audience, meaning their goal is to have millions of fans, and they're actually trying to build an audience of that size, or at least an audience big enough so people will notice them, or managers will notice them, or licensing people will notice them, because they have what we call that getting discovered mindset, where it's not about building necessarily a strong relationship with your audience. It's just about being seen and getting noticed by the right person. Now, no artist or band should start off, in our opinion, trying to do that. Instead, what they really should do, instead of trying to build this gigantic audience, is just focus on smaller goals. They need to build what we call their initial audience. So, what is your initial audience? Your initial audience is simply your first group of fans, not followers, fans. Now, meaning people that will actually support your career. Now, to give you an example, everyone's initial audience, when we are dealing with the members that we work with in coaching, we always say starts off with your friends and family. Why? Because your friends and family care about you, and they're going to be very likely to support your career. Which is why, they're going to be the ones early on at all your shows. They're going to be buying your album or doing whatever it is that you need them to do, because they're emotionally invested in who you are and what you're doing, and they're willing to support you. And the question now then becomes is, after you kind of get past them, how do you grow your initial audience beyond that? So before we kind of get to that, actually, I skipped over a question there. Apologies. Sometimes these things kind of blend together. Anyway, what I was trying to say was, so there are two real questions that we are going to address today. The first is, why is your initial audience so important? And the second one is, how do you grow that audience beyond your immediate friends and family? So we're going to start off by answering the first one, which is, why is your initial audience so important? And there are three main reasons. Now, the first one is that your initial audience is your support network. Building a successful music career will require the help of other people. There's no way around that. You can't do it all on your own. Even as a DIY musician, you will need help. And your initial audience will provide you with financial, promotional, and moral support, which is why it's essential that every artist and band has that. The second thing is, your initial audience is your growth engine. If you want to have a huge audience, then the best way to do that is to collaborate with other artists by sharing fans. And what will make you desirable to work with is a number of fans that you can actually share. For example, if you have 500 fans and play a show with another artist that has 500 fans, chances are you're both going to gain a lot more new fans from that show or the project that you're working on. So that kind of stuff is really, important. And the best thing about it is it's essentially free. You're not paying for advertising. You're not trusting in some, service that isn't accountable for anything. You're talking to a human being and saying, hey, how many fans you got? Oh, I have roughly the same amount. Let's put on a show and see what we can do to help each other. That's tangible. That's safe. That's a good investment of your time, energy, and money. Now, the third thing is your initial audience is what we call your bargaining chip. Now, we just described how you can use your initial audience to rapidly gain fans. Well, you can use that initial audience then to form strategic partnerships and grow your income. For example, if you take that same 500 audience, of fans that you have, and then pitch it to a sponsor on the idea that you're going to promote their brand to your audience, then you can begin bringing in a lot more money while doing the same thing. So if you're playing a show and you have a sponsor, not only are you going to earn the money from the ticket sales and maybe the merch and stuff that you're selling, but you also have that sponsorship. which is great way to bring in additional money. And it's then also makes it easier for you when you're able to do stuff like that, to push yourself to the point where you can actually become financially independent and be full time. As a result, before you become a full time artist, your main goal isn't, again, to have tons of followers. It should be to build your initial audience to the point where they're able to support your full time career. Because having a million fans and touring the world isn't something that you can accomplish in your spare time. It requires your total dedication and your total focus. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is if you get to the point where you can work on your career as a full time job. Um, and then once you are able to do that, then you can have grander goals. And it's important, again, for you to have that initial audience, because getting to the point where you're full time, again, isn't going to come from casual followers. It's going to be coming from having an actual relationship with people to the point where they consider your friends and family. Obviously, when you get to the point where you have a million fans, you're not going to be close friends with everybody, but that initial support group has to be strong. So you're going to take a bit more time to build and develop that until you have that network that you feel confident is going to be there for you day in and day out. And by having that, it'll allow you to take bigger risks and try newer things. Okay, so now let's discuss the second question, which is, how do you grow your initial audience beyond your immediate friends and family? Well, to start, you need to focus on acquiring, again, quality fans. And if you watched last week's show, we discussed the 1,000 True Fans approach. If you missed it, you can find it in our guide section from our artist and band support page in our private support group on Facebook. But to summarize, all you essentially need is 1,000 true fans to support your music career. Meaning if you sold 1,000 true fans, like your diehard fans, $100 worth of stuff each year, you're going to be earning roughly $100,000 per year, which most people can live on comfortably. And a true fan, again, is not only your diehards, but they're going to be people like your friends and family and everyone that cares about you enough to want to support your career on a regular basis. This means that if you want to grow that kind of audience, you need to put yourself in situations where you can make new friends. And there are 3 ways that we recommend doing that. Now, the first is to target a local venue. You have to be active in your local music scene. So if you can, pick a venue that fits your music. And then what we would recommend doing is becoming a regular patron and a performer there. And get to know all the staff, all the regulars, and actively support the venue in their events and the artists that go to perform there. When TJ and I first were working on developing MIC, we used to frequent a bar called Prohibition in New York. They had an amazing open mic night. We'd be there every single Monday. We got to know all the local artists, the bands that would come in, the band that was actually the house band there, the staff. And as we were working and trying to grow our membership and all the initiatives we did, we had a support network of people there in that venue that were there for anything that we needed them for. We had a venue that we could go to if we wanted to plan an event. It just made everything easier. And as an aspiring artist, if you are friends with a venue like that and you have those kind of inroads, it's going to be a big bargaining chip that you're going to be able, not bargaining chip, but a big asset to you that you're going to be able to use to help exponentially grow your career. The second thing that you want to do is you want to be active in your local community. Things like softball teams, church groups, and being members of a meetup group gives you the opportunity to make new friends that share similar interests. And once someone's your friend, you can introduce them to your music and hopefully gain a new fan. Now, I want to go back to that point where I said similar interests. You don't want to just join meetup groups or community groups just to make fans. That's not what we're telling you to do. You want to find things that actually interest you, activities, charities, whatever, things that you're really passionate about, because the people that are going to be members of that group are going to have something in common with you, something that you share. Again, your whole purpose of doing this is to become friends. So if you join a group that maybe has 5,000 members that has nothing to do that you're interested in, when you get there, you're going to meet a whole bunch of people that you just don't have anything in common with, and that's not going to help you at all. So you want to find communities that you can join that are going to have a high likelihood that you're going to have not only something in common with them, but then you could potentially become friends. And then again, once you kind of make those emotional connections with that group, introduce them to your music, and you'll have a new support group that will help you with your career. Now, the third and final thing that we recommend is getting referrals from your initial audience. Your initial audience are your best ambassadors when building a loyal fan base, because they know from their friends and family who are actually going to like your music and be into the things that you're doing as an experience from your career. And if you're listening to music and attending shows, and you can turn that into a social activity for those people, then they're most likely going to become part of your permanent team, which is what you want. Because once, if one person's following you, great. But if their whole friends are following you, then it becomes, again, like a cool activity that everyone gets to share in, together. So those are the kind of things that you want to do. And again, you can always still do things like collaborate with other artists and exponentially grow, but you really want to zero in and work on things like this and develop your local community. When I was first starting off in the industry, I had a mentor, and she would always say that to us: join a local church group, do this. And I'd be like, why the heck would I ever want to do that? I'm working full time. I have a million things I need to do. The last thing I have time for is to join a group. And she would always say, because you need the support of other people. And groups like that will be your support group. And it's absolutely 100% true. And it's really important that you take the time to do it. Worst case scenario is you just make a bunch of friends, which is not a bad thing either. So just something that really you should consider. Just remember that, at the end of the day, as you do make these relationships, you need to continue to nurture them and pay attention to them. A lot of, everyone has friends that they're just like, hey, great. And then I forget all about you. And then I need something. And then I need to contact you. Don't be that kind of friend. Find ways that you guys can keep in touch. Even if you leave yourself a reminder once a month to check in with friends, just make sure that you maintain the relationships, because again, doing this is a difficult process. And if you want to get the support of these people, then you need to be able to support them and put in some effort back. All right. So at the end of the day, what we're really going to recommend is focus on building a quality fan base. Do not focus on just followers. Followers and numbers are great. And you'll see people that give examples of, like, again, hey, I got 5,000 blah, blah, blah streams and followers on my thing, and I got this deal, or I got this whatever. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Who the heck knows? At the end of the day, spending money to get to the point to find out if you can actually garner these kind of things, is irrelevant. Because again, if you can't influence your audience and get them to do what you want them to do, the amount of followers you have is absolutely meaningless. We know plenty of artists that have tens of thousands of social media followers, but most of them can't talk to them on a regular basis, and don't talk to them on a regular basis, and don't get engagements on their posts and all these other things. So if you really want to have and kind of fluctuate, the one of what's where I'm looking for. If you want to kind of use the weight behind your audience, you need to be able to influence and get them to do what you want. And that only, again, comes from personal relationships. People put too much stock in the digital age and everything else. And TJ and I get it. We're digital guys. We work in digital distribution. It's our thing. But personal relationships is what the industry is built on. So when you're working on building your initial audience, really take the time to build these relationships up, because they will be the backbone to your music career. And it'll also, in general, just make the overall process of developing your music career fun, because having these friends and family show up to all your shows makes it an enjoyable experience.
The initial audience discussion is always a great one. It's always a great reminder to, not like Greg was saying, like, get out from behind the computer screen. I mean, I think there's been this trend, now that there's all these tools at an independent musician's disposal to, that, oh, and I never need to leave and get out in the street and shake hands. But you absolutely do. It's the it's going to be the cornerstone of your career. So it's, those online tools are wonderful tools to be in the box, but that's all they are. They are tools. At the end of the day, the connections you make in person, or even but digitally, but just not on casual social media, are the ties that bind, the things that are gonna float you through your career. And that diehard fan base is everything. Greg always throws out the stat. 80% of your followers are only going to make up 20% of your income. The 20% of hardcore fans make up 80% of your income, and it's important to supply them with the proper collectibles or merch, and kind of build those relationships and exploit them as you can, and make sure that you're not just building relationship to sell them nothing. You also have to supply something, so you can make your money. So it's important to plan that all out. Research wise, look at bands you like, sign up for their, the Belieber mailing list, the Bay Hives. I might be making these up. The Little Monster, like, like the pop stars. Find your favorite band, sign up for their fan group, and see kind of what they offer to those communities, and what kind of how they're communicating with them, what kind of offers they are. Just as a fun little research thing, if you have the money, buy one of those, meet and greet packages or something, or those special things that artists offer all the time. It might be a splurge, but it might be a really important experience where you see, like, wow, these people really, even big stars, really kind of roll out the red carpet for their fans, when they offer them kind of premium packages and stuff. And you can do that too, and it's important to do that because that's how you maximize your profits, and further those connections and build, hardcore relationships with those fans. And then just strategize from there. But yeah, make it fun. Research what's out there already. We always say that. Look at existing bands. They're all making money, in very creative ways that aren't necessarily immediately apparent to you, unless you kind of explore them. So get out there and do some research, and it can be fun along the way.
The main thing here is to just put yourself in your audience's shoes, and think about, what would you do with your friends. If this had nothing to do with your music career, what kind of activities would you plan with your friends? Are you going to have your friends listen to your music 24/7 or just come to your music shows? No, you plan other activities with them. So plan a scavenger hunt with your friends. If you're a gamer, plan an online gaming night with your audience, and do something. There's things that you guys can do that is interactive and fun, that builds relationships with these people. And if you want their support, you got to figure out how you're going to support their needs, and your music is part of that. But if you go the extra mile, they're going to go the extra mile for you. All right. Anyway, that's going to be our show for today. Everyone have a great day. And remember, we're always here if you need our help. Thanks for watching. If you're truly serious about building a professional music career, then I recommend learning how to be successful by watching our video, How DIY Musicians Become and Stay Successful. You can find the link for it in the description below. It's filled with great information, and we even give you a free gift for watching. So you really can't go wrong. Anyway, check it out today, and please don't forget to subscribe.